Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the Ascent Transformation Series, which is a special editorial feature conceived jointly by the editorial team of Times Ascent and the faculty of IFIM Business School. This is a one-of-its-kind attempt to bring the academia and the corporate on a single platform for discussing issues that are impacting the business scenario globally. I would like to welcome the speakers for the first panel discussion on stage, please. Mr. Ramanujam, General Manager, HRD, Biocon. Ms. Dhanya Rajeshwaram, Vice President, HR, Accenture. Mr. Jacob Kurian, Head HR, Fujitsu. And Dr. Sri Vidya, Associate Professor, IFIM Business School. The topic for the first panel discussion is digital team building exercises for a geographically dispersed team. The rise and spread of information communication technologies has enabled increasing use of geographically dispersed work teams. Originally, global virtual teams were mainly organized into temporary projects. However, little research has focused on the emergent challenge for organizations to move towards establishing permanent global virtual teams in order to leverage knowledge sharing and cooperation across distance. Some of the key challenges faced while managing a global virtual team include keeping remote employees engaged, monitoring and evaluating virtual team performance, developing global mindset, required competencies for effective virtual leadership, building teams from a distance, making computer-mediated communication more effective, and effective business communication. So I'd like to begin this discussion. Mr. Jacob, would you like to start and share with us how difficult is it to manage geographically diverse teams?
According to me, geographically dispersed teams is a reality today. But if I look into history, right from the Roman Empire, I'm taking you back to the earlier years, they were also geographically dispersed. And if you look at the Catholic world, or you look at the Mughal empires, or you look at even our kings and kingdoms, they managed geographically dispersed teams. The challenges then was or is almost the same as the challenges today. But the only difference is that the pace was the big difference. Now, having said that, I would like to start with a very basic concept first, and I'll not take much time. So the basic concept that we need to understand while talking about this subject is the first word, team. And the second word is team building. What a team, and these are students, so let me go back to where my lecture had. A team is a group of people for a common purpose. And team building is to bring cohesion into that particular team. Now, if you ask me, is it challenging? I will say yes, it is challenging. But if you ask me how to simplify it, I think organizations should create the sense of purpose in the team, and the purpose governs the connect. And therefore make this challenge not so challenging, right? So that's the initial statement I would like to make on this. But yes, I agree with you, it is challenging. But how we bring the team together on one common purpose makes it a little simplified.
First of all, happy to be here. Thanks to Jacob and the spin-on team, I'll touch a little bit upon digital and how we connect with the rest of the world, right? Clearly, technology is driving a lot of change for us, and each of us experience it in our day-to-day, whether it's through Facebook or Twitter or whatnot. And it's no different within an organizational environment. So Accenture is probably one of those very few companies of our size who are so globally spread, but actually don't have a headquartered location, right? Like we don't have, this is the largest campus of Accenture types, and that actually anchors to our core value of one global network. The firm believes that you could be anywhere in the world and still be delivering high quality service to our clients. And therefore, as a principle, one of the things that Accenture has always been implementing is how do we get our technologies enabled so that we're able to connect with our employees irrespective of which part of the globe that they are in, right? So we have our internal Facebook. So we don't call it Facebook, it's called our people page. And then we have something called Stream, we have Circles. It just allows digital collaboration like never before, which means somebody from India could actually say, hey, I'm struggling with something like this, and post it on Stream. Somebody else could pick it up from a different part of the world and be able to answer it, just like how Facebook conversations happen today, right? So that's one thing that's actually changing how we're able to communicate with each other and stay collaborative. The other part of it is knowing that our workforce is very young, right? We have a huge amount of millennials within our organization. So a lot of what we do tries to cater to the younger generation. So for example, stuff like gamification, right? We use games extensively to be able to drive collaboration across the world, drive some critical messages to our people, etc. And it's so much fun. So I think when you talk about geographically dispersed teams, technology definitely plays a huge role, and further in the conversation we'll explore culture and cross-cultural diversity, etc. But I think digital technologies are clearly making it possible.
First of all, thanks everyone. It's good to be here. So taking the cue from what Jacob and Danya mentioned, I think the key point here is for an organization like Biocon, where we have not just the millennials, we have even the other set of people, the baby boomers and so on. Now, one of the biggest challenges we have is we are much spread in a very different type of an organization based vis-a-vis the typical IT crowd which thrives. So, Biocon being a leading pharmaceutical manufacturing company, for us the challenge most of the time when we look at it is the core science background and ability to understand the formulations aspect and bring in the real value proposal. So the biggest challenge we face is how do we percolate into this base the Biocon value system, the mission, the vision, the value system makes a very big difference for us because we work with live chemicals. So lab discipline is something a very big challenge for us. So similarly, it's in the manufacturing space. So we highly use two types of approach to this. One is the internal network, like how Danya mentioned, like Stream and all. We do have internal network, and we have very complex programs that run pan the world, be it performance management, be it the learning and development initiatives. And team building for us is the bigger challenge because it's not just the sales part or the IT part we look at. For us, statutory and regulatory parts play a very big role, and these are country specific. So for us, percolating those into the employee base and searching for talents in those specific skills are the two biggest, HR challenges we have.
So I think we've roughly been talking around the same topic, so I'll probably take a cue out of what everyone said. To start with, yes, the challenges of team building as such as I think remain the same, like Jacob just pointed out. But the thing is, I think with geographic spread, I think the same challenges perhaps have gotten accentuated a lot more deeply. So things like, let us say, a cultural difference and being empathetic to these cultural differences. I think it used to exist, but now I think it has become a lot more accentuated. Time zone differences, I think that has become accentuated a lot more than it has ever been. And yes, of course, technology has been a great enabler, but technology is used as per how the teams are asked to use.
For example, what I would recommend is culturally, we may have technology. Every company is going to use the same technologies, the same Facebook, the same WebEx, the same emails or yummy.com or whatever it is. But what is going to matter in the cross culture is about use emails as, let's say, the 10% part. Use your, the tone part can be through your phone or whatever it is. The other part of the 60% can be your webcam and other things, because unless and until you give this personal touch to even the across the boundary guy, you will still have an impediment on communicating with the other person there. I'll give you a simple example. There was an email that was sent to a guy of the other to the other nation on a master service agreement in a company, and I was handling it. So this guy from India said to the other guy that you are ignorant about the clauses of the MSA. Now this word ignorance was caught up by the guy in the other nation and created a hell out of it and escalations, saying, in my 25 years of experience, I never heard such a bad word. And I was looking at the mail, where is the bad word? So that's called cross-cultural training.
Okay, so we operate out of more than 50 plus countries, okay? So that means that whatever we talk about cross-cultural diversity has to be very specific to that country. So we have a course with several subsections. So it says, working with Netherlands, working with Americas. So every time a new team gets formed and they're supposed to be working with a set of countries, then the whole group goes through this program together about what are the nuances of working with that particular country. And then we have something called cross-cultural awareness. Okay. So the whole idea is you take an inventory, like a test, self-test, and then you score yourself on some parameters, and everybody in the team scores themselves, and it comes together and against parameters such as, what do you believe about hierarchy? What do you believe about risk taking? What do you believe about communication? And it's so transparent because then everybody understands where each one is at in that whole spectrum. So they're able to customize how they communicate with each other. So this is something that we do very, very religiously across the board. The other thing that we do is, it's impossible for you to fly large teams together for offsites the traditional way, right? So and what we've discovered is when teams that work together, especially managers, right? If they have an opportunity to work side by side for a certain period in time, then they're able to understand the team dynamics much better. So what we encourage teams to do is, at least at a team leadership level, they are encouraged to travel to the different countries where their teams might be sitting and do like a 1 week or a 10-day, just do regular work with them. So you're not taking the whole team with you, but people who are, key to working with each other, they definitely get to do that. And because of that, the touch and feel that Jacob was talking about, how do you experience a culture? How do you know the dynamics that goes on the ground? So that gets addressed. So these are two things that we do extensively when it comes to cross-cultural diversity.
I think the most important aspect that we look at being a pharmaceutical company is country-specific statutory guidelines, and for us, the line of control is what we call as the SOP, Standard Operating Procedures. So when we hire someone into the organization, irrespective of the level they come in, if they are into manufacturing or if they are into research and development, there are a set of procedures they need to follow. As simple as we call it as clean room behavior. If they are going to the manufacturing facility, then there are a certain etiquettes in terms of the way I wash my hands. There is a specific dress code they have to undergo. So in the context of Biocon, when we look at it, the lab procedures and the manufacturing area procedures, these are all standard, irrespective of the country we go into. While, of course, the way we address them, the way we talk to them, the way we salute them, they will be very different. And similar to the lines of what Danya mentioned, there are certain incubation classes we have for them. I'm sure Major Jacob will agree to that. The technology aspect of connecting teams started with the defense. Believe me, robots that are built today beat world champions in chess, Kasparovs and all those, including Vishwanathan Anand. Can anybody tell in the rapid chess what time did Vishwanathan lose against the robo? Just a number. Rapid chess. This is not classical chess. One number. I'll give you a hint. It's a cigarette brand as well as it's a world championship number in World Rally Champions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ranjan Kujuria, PGDM Core Finance. So my question is, we have done some activities in which I was group leader. So a lot of things happened, and as a leader I have to make sure that every thoughts or everything that's happening with my team members should come into my program or that thing we are going to do. But when I interact with them, not like on the human, like on WhatsApp or something like that, so I was not able to make sure that the kind of emotions he is giving to me, are they relevant or are they something different? So how you make sure that when you talk to a person, like he's in front of you, and when the same person is across the globe or something over there, so how can you make sure that you get right insight from him and when he's in front of you? So how you make sure that the difference is not there and you like interpret him properly?
I can talk of my personal experience. Several years ago was the first time I had a boss who was based out of New York and I was based out of India, and our technologies weren't enabled as they are today, right? So those days it just used to be phone calls. And you know, so she would never write long emails, so single line emails, and as a person receiving it, you'd wonder, is she happy or is she not happy? Is she saying, and again, you know, working with an American, it was my first experience. So the only thing that I felt worked was taking the courage to actually ask the question. When in doubt, ask the question, are you happy with this? Are you not happy with this? And it's okay, even as a team leader, right? Then I graduated to having a team based out of US and a team based out of France. And French and American, very, very distinctly different, and of course no comparison to Indians, right? So, so you still had to be very direct in cross-checking and cross-validating, and you have no choice but to be explicit at times. And I think the onus is on you as the leader to make sure that you're doing that all the time, and being okay with being embarrassed sometimes, saying, oh yeah, of course I'm okay, why are you asking?
The very thought that came into your mind, what is the guy thinking? I actually think that you're getting into HR, or are you getting into finance? Whatever. So I think you are an HR material too. Because the thought actually came, you're actually looking at what is the emotion of the guy. You'll make a good HR manager as well. That's point number one. Whatever. Absolutely. So, you know what? If you, as Ramanuja mentioned about how technology is moving and we are going to be that digital world in the future and present, there is a creation of something called what is your virtual personality type. There are a lot of studies going on this. I think it's still on studies. And you have these MBTI which gives you a personality trait which will help you understand the other guy in front of you. You have the Johari window which will help you understand the no to me and known to others and stuff like that. I think you guys have done extensive study on that.
You know Mahabharat? No Mahabharat? Okay, tell me, who is Arjun?
He was one of 5 Pandavas.
Pandavas. So Pandav had a mother?
Yeah.
What is her name?
Kunti. I think.
Kunti. Now what happens, if you look at the Pandavas, all the guys are consistent. Only one guy is a little bit theda in that, which is Arjun. या लड़की का पीछे जाता है, or he goes and destroys people, right? So Kunti has a very vague thought, and she asked Lord Krishna, I don't understand one kid out of these 5 kids, that is Arjun. So that time Lord Krishna says, the reason is you're telling, this is all about team dynamics, right? So Lord Krishna says, Mukam Padmadalakaram, Vacham Chandana Sheetalam, Hridaye Krodha Samyuktam, Tripitam Dhurta Lakshanam. Did you understand anything?
Absolutely not.
Now the first line.
He clearly understands.
So what he says is, like in English there is a very simple saying, face is the index of mind. Now this theory disproves that. Mukam Padmadalakaram. What is Padmadala? Face is like the lotus. Vacham Chandana Sheetalam. That is, whatever he or she speaks, it's like nectar or dewdrops falling from moon. Hridaye Krodha Samyuktam. The heart is full of only erroneous thinking. Tripitam Dhurta Lakshanam. You understood? These are the 3 traits of a traitor. or a person whom you should not believe. So team dynamics is always a challenge. All of you yesterday evening would have had a mug of beer, macha, good draw, I'll do this, that, but tomorrow morning 2 guys won't show up. That is human behavior. You do MBTJ, you do all those things. I'll just refer some films, see that, Bridge on the River Kwai, right? Then there is one important movie, also called as Lean on Me. That's a Moran Freeman movie. And our own Indian hero ka, Shahrukh Bhai ka ek film hai. Kaun sa hai wo?
Chak De India.
Check day. Now all these when you look at it, talks about team dynamics. So weekend mein kar lo, 10 baar dekh lo, you will have an answer for those.
Thank you.
All
Thank
the
you very
best.
much, sir.
Then with that, we come to the end of the first panel discussion. Thank you so much, panelists, for such interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.